in our comic book show. Malcolm, you're going to get a kick out of this because I've been giving you a hard time about comic books. Yes. But last night I told my future husband-to-be that we're doing this show today, and he was so excited. Oh. I guess he's got all these first edition comic books that he's been storing up. He thought when he was 11 years old that they're going to be worth a lot of money, so he bought them as an investment. He's like, let's go get them. I'll show you them. I'm like, okay. But we didn't end up going to get them. So
that's kind of
I learned something new because of you.
There you go. So I'm glad it brings you closer together, and then you can talk about strawberry shortcake.
Exactly. Okay. I'm so proud.
Yes. Well, I'm going to share some more examples of Hollywood's interest in superheroes. We have, of the following movies, we've got Daredevil, Elektra, Hellboy, Hulk, The Mask, Mystery Man, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Swamp Thing, all movies, as well as 2 Fantastic Four movies, 3 Spider-Man, 3 X-Men, 3 Blade, 3 Crow movies, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, 5 Superman, and 6 Batman. So, worth a lot of money.
What would Hollywood do without all these comic book artists?
I think they just have sequels to old, goofy shows, probably. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, have fun.
I actually want to ask you about the movies, Jay. As a huge comic book fan, is it the same kind of thing when you're a big reading fan and you have a book and then the movie version comes out and you can't wait to see it and then you're ultimately disappointed?
It happens.
Yeah.
I find more often than not I tend to enjoy the movies of the books that I don't necessarily like more than the books that I do like.
Right,
so I'm a big Superman fan and I go and I tend to be overly critical, but the Spider-Man films, like I can't stand Spider-Man the character, but I think the Spider-Man films are absolutely amazing and it just blows my mind. So.
And so are the movies usually very similar in how they portray the characters?
No,
or do they change it?
They blend them a little bit just so it has a greater mass appeal. They tend to mash several storylines together for the sake of time, just to pack it full of lots of things to go on.
Lots of action for people to like. Okay, let's go back to the fun events that you guys have at the store. The comic book jam looked really fun, and you said you don't even have to be able to draw to go. So
absolutely not. I'm a writer myself.
Yeah.
I have no art skills at all, but over the years I've been doing it. Things have gotten a little bit easier for me, and I've started to learn some stuff. But anyone can come. It's not a matter of skill. It's a matter of creativity. It's a matter of trying to come up with stuff. Come up with ideas, dialogue, concepts, and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Now you have another event, or is this a national, international event, Free Comic Book Day?
Free Comic Book Day is a global event.
Okay.
It was started by a retailer in the States by the name of Joe Field, and it was his concept to basically help celebrate the medium of comics. It always happens the first Saturday of May, worldwide, and retailers, publishers like Marvel and DC and a whole bunch of others, they make all these books really, really, really cheap. Retailers, we buy as many as we want, and then we give them out free to people. Wow. At our store, we tend to go a little bit over and above by we just don't have a table of free comics you can come in and grab. We bring in artists who will do sketches for people. We have like a big hot dog and hamburger sale. We do all sorts of raffles and giveaways. We just have like a big celebration.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I want to also talk about this book because, oops, upside down. This is you right here. I picked it up and I said, this looks like you. And I guess someone kind of drew it like you when you had longer hair.
Yes. Yeah, we do this anthology book. It's called Tales from the Harbor, and it's an open submission book. Anyone can submit a story to us. It doesn't matter if it's a comic story, illustrated prose, or straight prose.
Okay.
And we put it into these books. We do all the editing, formatting, everything like that, and then we sell them locally. So it does a couple of things. It gives people timelines to work in and create stories that they have to tell, because our theory is everyone has a story to tell.
But it may take 10 years to do
exactly.
it. Right?
So we try to get them motivated. So there's deadlines. You have to work within deadlines. You have to work within certain formats. Like you have to send me the material in specific ways. So it gives people some guidance into what it would actually be like to work in the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then once you maybe have this published work, this is something that you could be going and hunting down the editors of the big, say, look, I have some published works.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as the website that you showed earlier says, how you go and try to find a job. The way you normally do that is it doesn't matter if you're a colorist, a penciler like Richard, or even a writer. You need to have a finished product, because that's what the editors will look at. And so if you can walk around with finished product, that's what's going to get you a job.
Right.
Yeah. And so from our end, it's like, okay, well, here's the opportunity for you to create, to motivate you to move forward. And, it's interesting. There's a lot of people who pick up these books and will just go, wow, this guy's really good. And we give feedback to the community so that people know, what kind of track they're on, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Great information. Sounds like a really cool store. All of Jay's information at Happy Harbor is on helptv.ca. For more information on that, we'll go see Kim.
So if you know comics, you know a man by the name of Alex Ross. He's been called the Norman Rockwell of comics for his elegant, naturalistic portraits and full-length comics. Let's go check out his site dedicated to his work. Log on to helptv.ca, and of course, under the links here, we have Alex Ross's site. And here you can find more about him in his bio, but one part I want to emphasize is the characters. Under the characters, he shines truly with his talent, and he shows all the characters that we love. Here we have Catwoman, and if you keep on going, or Batwoman rather, sorry, and then Batman. If you continue to go down, we have the last character of Flash. Who doesn't love Flash? Always log on to helptv.ca. Feel free to give us emails. Help us help you. But for now, let's go to Malcolm and find out more about the wonderful world of comics.
Thanks, Kim. And I think if you had a superhero named Kimberland, he's got a certain toughness to it. I think that could work. But at any rate, so back with Darren and Orion, and we're talking about some of the interesting ways that comics and superheroes have cross-pollinated into Hollywood. Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, you were arguing before that's really a superhero team story.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a combination of people with special abilities that come together to fight fantastic menaces, and they bicker among themselves. I mean, it's a great little superhero team show.
Yeah.
It's one of probably the best.
Yeah.
One of the clever little bits in that is it takes until about the 4th season until they'll refer to Buffy's strength as a superpower. They actually say it once, and you go, oh, right, of course. Now I know what we're watching.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is really, sometimes they come clean and they say this is what we're really doing. Right now, I want to talk about Alan Moore, and for folks out there who don't know why Alan Moore is significant, you want to open that up for us?
Basically, in about 1983, Alan Moore wrote a book called Miracle Man. That was what got him really famous in American comics, and he was one of the people who took superheroes seriously enough to make a social commentary out of them, to explore the logical consequences of having these kinds of people running around in the world, and really just blew the backs of the heads out of a lot of people in American comics. There were really, really talented people doing American comics domestically, no question, but Moore stepped in and just really rewrote the book on him in a lot of ways.
And he was, I mean, even though the names of some of his stories, they were, names that might make us chuckle, like Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you could do anything of value with a name like that. But I mean, he was exploring mysticism, the end of the world, environmentalism.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read some of that work?
Yeah, and he was exploring those things at a time when, if they were treated at all, they were treated superficially. The other thing that Moore was doing that is exciting, and it still resonates when we look at almost anything, is that he was revitalizing the DC universe itself. He was pulling all these old characters and concepts out from the past and making them live again in a situation where the disconnected aspects were coming together and getting exciting again.
There was a lot of, I did love the fact that he was taking these really boring, they weren't even B-level characters, they were like Z-level dumb characters, and he was putting a lot of psychological realism into them and saying, well, they had lives beyond just these narrow adventures.
Well, thinking them through, it's like, all right, this guy's got this jokey power of controlling plants and we haven't seen him for 20 years. But if he really did have that power, what would he want, and how can we make that heavy? How can we give him credit? He's doing the thing that writers should be doing, which is taking any character and making it as heavy and real and meaningful as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the common factors between Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman and a few of his other British compatriots, actually most of them British, is the ability to take old, kind of hokey characters and draw out these grand mythological, psychological, and ideological significations of them, and say, here's what we were really talking about the whole time, you just didn't notice.
Yeah. Is it, you're an academic, you're working on your dissertation on superheroes. Is it a tough sell in your department sometimes to get to people to say, look, I'm doing something serious here?
Yeah, surprisingly not. The academics that I work with are more than willing to engage with it on that kind of analytical level and say, well, fine, tell me about the politics of these characters. Tell me about the ideology, tell me about the history. The only resistance I've found is to other people who are comics experts who say, you're not doing that quite right. They keep me honest, which is very important.
Right,
but no, surprising little resistance. The only thing, my grandmother told me she wouldn't be able to read the dissertation.
Right.
That's the only negative comment I've had so far, because she wouldn't know what it meant.
Right, of course. Okay. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to have a look at some more amazing art and the world of coloring, and we're also going to find out about one of the most important figures in modern comics, and that's Frank Miller.
Hair and body care services provided by Avanti Salon and Spa. Visit us at youravanti.com.